I still remember the way Suzanne smiled at him. We were at a crowded downtown restaurant, the kind with dim lights meant to make everyone look better than they really are. She laughed at something the waiter said, leaning in close, touching his arm, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. I sat across from her, watching the scene play out like I was invisible. When the waiter walked away, she didn't even look embarrassed. She just checked her phone and asked,
"Are you done eating? It's like no matter how much you eat, you're never full. Jesus."
The fight happened later that night, in our kitchen. I told her how humiliating it felt to watch my own wife flirt with every good-looking man who crossed our path. She snapped back that I was insecure and paranoid, and that maybe if I took better care of myself, I wouldn't feel so threatened. That's when I knew if I didn't do something about my weight, she was going to leave. I kept thinking of a way to lose weight fast and easy the entire night. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, I ordered Ozempic from a sketchy website I barely trusted. No prescription, no questions asked. The confirmation email felt like a secret pact I made with myself. The changes came fast, too fast. The number on the scale dropped every morning, and with it came a strange sense of relief, like I was finally fixing what was wrong with me. Suzanne noticed within a week. She said my face looked slimmer. She smiled at me again. That smile hooked me deeper than any drug. Food became an enemy. Even the smell of it made my stomach twist. I skipped meals without meaning to, then started doing it on purpose. Sleep stopped coming naturally. I would wake up multiple times a night, heart racing, convinced I had gained weight in my sleep. I started weighing myself constantly, after showers, before work, and sometimes in the middle of the night. If the number did not change, panic crawled up my spine. But soon, I started losing time. The first time I woke up on the bathroom floor, my head pounded. I assumed I had fainted. When I stood up, I saw dried blood around my lips in the mirror. It happened again a few nights later. This time, I noticed long, angry scratch marks across my stomach, deep enough to sting when I touched them. I did not remember making them. I did not remember falling either. When I looked at my reflection now, it did not look like weight loss. It looked like something had been taken from me. My eyes were sunken, my skin stretched thin over bones that had never shown before. I told myself this was the price of becoming someone Suzanne would finally want, even as my body began to feel less like mine every day. I collapsed at work on a Tuesday morning, halfway through answering an email. I had already forgotten how to start. My hands were shaking so badly that the keyboard rattled under my fingers. I remember standing up to get water, then the room tilting sharply to the left, like the floor had decided I was done using it. When I opened my eyes again, everything smelled like antiseptic and plastic. The ceiling lights above me were too white, too sharp. My body felt heavy and hollow at the same time, like there was nothing solid left inside to hold me together. A machine beside the bed beeped steadily, counting something I could not feel anymore. A doctor stood near my bed, flipping through a chart with a tight expression that did not soften when he noticed I was awake. He asked me questions, my name, my age, and what medications I was taking. I tried to answer, but my throat was dry, and my thoughts moved slowly, as if they had to wade through mud to reach my mouth. When I finally admitted what I had been taking, his jaw clenched. He pulled up a chair and sat beside me, lowering his voice. He said my body was no longer burning fat. He said that phase had passed weeks ago. Now, it was consuming muscle tissue. He hesitated before adding that it had likely started breaking down organs too, prioritizing survival over anything else. I stared at him, numb, my vision blurred, and for a moment, I thought I was blacking out again. Memories rushed in instead. Suzanne laughing with the bartender. Suzanne telling me I was embarrassing her. Suzanne was saying I looked sick now. saying she needed space and saying she could not deal with my obsession anymore. I realized she had stopped checking in days ago. No missed calls, no worried messages. I had been killing myself for someone who barely noticed I was dying. The doctor kept talking about treatment plans and recovery timelines, but his words floated past me. I thought about the nights I woke up on cold tiles with blood on my mouth. The scratches on my stomach felt less like accidents and more like my body trying to escape itself. I thought about how proud I felt watching the numbers drop, even as everything else disappeared with them. I had wanted to be smaller for her, more desirable, easier to stand beside. In the process, I had erased myself piece by piece, convinced that if I reached the right number, she would finally love me the way I needed her to. Lying there, weak and broken, I finally decided to send my wife divorce notice. I'm on the path of recovery now, and along with building a healthy body, I'm also working on building enough self-esteem so I never, ever lose myself caring for people's validation.
I'm writing this just after getting back from a road trip during the holidays, while everything is still fresh. This wasn't too long of a trip, but mostly on a straight stretch of road with nothing around. To make everything work with my schedule, doing the drive back home overnight was my best option. The first several hours from 7 p.m. to probably 12 were very boring and uneventful. By that time of night, I was the only car on the road, and being fully dark out, the whole highway looked the same for every mile. It was exhaustingly boring. At some point around then, a single car's headlights came into view, way down the road, going in the other direction. This highway was so straight and empty that I noticed it 2 or 3 minutes before it actually got close and passed by. I didn't really pay all that much attention to it, but it was the only other thing on the road. After it passed, I happened to do another round of checking my mirrors and saw bright red brake lights from that other car. It had noticeably slowed down and switched lanes. Then it suddenly did a U-turn. There were no designated U-turn areas though, and the two sides of the highway were separated by a grassy ditch. This car drove down into the ditch and then up onto my direction of the road, then started driving up behind me. I thought this person was crazy, but also thought they must have really needed to turn around for some reason, and was waiting for them to speed past me. They did pick up speed. However, once they got close to me, they slowed and matched my speed, staying right behind me. I was sure there was no way this person saw me on the other side of the highway and had done all of this because of me. But as the minutes went on, and this car didn't switch lanes, I got a little nervous. And then he started flickering his headlights, flashing his high beams like he was trying to communicate something to me. There was no one else around he possibly could have been signaling to. We were the only two cars on the road, so I knew he was doing it to get my attention, which kind of freaked me out. It wasn't just a couple flashes either, like signaling a cop was nearby. He kept doing it for miles. I wasn't really sure what to do here. I couldn't see what the hell this guy wanted from me, or why he was doing any of this. Also, with his headlights and how dark it was, I couldn't actually see his car. I had no way of getting a description of it. After a while, I passed a sign for a rest area in 3 miles. I figured this was my chance to pull off in an area where other cars were around, and hopefully let this guy just continue down the road and leave me alone. Even if the other cars at the rest stop were just people sleeping, it would still feel way safer. When the exit finally showed up, I pulled off the highway. It wasn't what I expected at all though. I had never seen a rest stop like this. The exit ramp spiraled down and went under the highway, through a sort of tunnel I guess, and then to the rest area. So instead of there being 2 separate pull-offs on either side of the highway, there was just this one large area that both sides were connected to. And like I said, I went under the highway, so the rest area was actually sort of at the bottom of a hill off the highway. It felt very isolating. You couldn't see or even hear anything from the road above, which I assume was the whole point. More concerning though, no other cars were there. The whole parking lot was empty. I checked my rearview mirror first, not seeing any headlights. then decided to pull into a spot right near the building. The guy following me was pretty close behind me, so not seeing his headlights made me pretty sure he didn't catch the exit. I kept checking the entrance to the rest stop, and after a minute, I finally took a deep breath and felt so relieved. Now there, parked at a rest stop, I realized just how tired I was, especially after all of that going on. The building looked like it had bathrooms and a vending machine, so I figured I should go in while I was there. I got out, locked my car, and walked inside. I was only in there for maybe a minute or two. I was going to get something from the vending machine on my way out to help me refuel, but it was out of commission. As soon as I left the building, though, I saw another car. Despite this massive rest stop being entirely empty, it was parked oddly just one space away from mine. I felt my heart sink and my stomach tighten. I had no real way to know if it was the same car that was following me, but in my gut, I was absolutely sure of it. Its windows were tinted, and the brights were still on, so between the glare and everything, I couldn't see who was inside of it. I walked slowly up to my car, getting in and having that feeling that eyes were on me. I wasted no time putting my keys in the ignition and starting the car to leave. Or trying to. The car wouldn't start. It wouldn't even try to start. Turning the key did nothing. Instantly, I felt adrenaline coming through as I realized the real danger I was now stuck in. I stared at my useless keys dangling from the ignition for a moment, feeling this surreal, out-of-body sense, just completely unable to process that I was in this situation, knowing how likely awful this was going to end up. I got my phone out and dialed 911, sure the person in the car would see and immediately get out to break into my car, knowing that I couldn't go anywhere. I was scared to even look to my side. My voice was shaky, telling the operator where I was and that I was stuck and my car wouldn't start. But once I mentioned that the car that was next to me had been following me, the woman on the other line suddenly talked faster and asked for more details, like she was suddenly a little more worried and rushing, or had heard of something similar before. I told her everything, and she had police on the way 10 minutes out. I still hadn't even looked to the car next to me, scared of what I'd see. But then the car slowly started to back out. They slowly pulled away, and then moved their car directly behind mine. The side of their car had to be just a couple of feet from my back bumper, and then they stopped, blocking me in. Few seconds later, I heard a door open. I saw movement in my mirror, and when I looked, I saw a tall man in a dark brown winter jacket slowly approaching the side of my car. He came right up to the window, hovering over me. I was terrified, again scared to even look at him, but I felt his disturbing presence right on the other side of my window, quietly staring in at me. The man didn't speak or try to open the door. He just stood there. I continued telling the woman on the phone what was happening. After a minute, the man slowly moved around my car, passing by the front and going to the other side. I don't know if he was looking inside for something or what, but he walked around it several times. Then he walked back to his car, got in, and slowly drove away. I watched his headlights go through the tunnel and disappear. 5 minutes later, an officer pulled into the rest stop. He quickly got information from me and told me another officer was a few minutes out that would help me with my car, but after being sure I was okay, he seemed to be more in a hurry to chase down the guy that was following me. It turned out the man had cut the ignition cable from my battery, which I didn't even know was a thing that someone could do so easily. I was able to get towed out safely and had it repaired in the morning. I called multiple times for updates from the police station, but got nothing. It really felt like something more was going on, from the way the operator suddenly sounded rushed and worried, and the officer wanting to chase him down immediately. And overall, I couldn't figure out what that guy wanted from me. He followed me for miles, flashing his lights, then cut my ignition and had me stranded in an isolated rest stop with no one around. But he didn't do anything. He just creepily and eerily walked around my car. I'm wondering if anyone knows what he might have been doing, or had something similar happen. Again, this was only a few days ago, so there's still a chance something else comes from it. I'll let you know and provide an update if anything significant is found out.
I was in my office when I heard of my Uncle Bruno's death, which made me feel devastated. While growing up back in Ohio, Uncle Bruno was the only person I was close with among my other relatives. But after getting into college, I moved to Texas and was only able to make my visits occasionally. After getting off work, I decided to go directly to Ohio from my office. So I took out my car from the driveway and started driving towards my hometown. I called my mom, letting her know that I was coming and I was on my way. She asked me to pick up a suit on my way because they were going to arrange the funeral the next morning. While I was driving, I started reminiscing my past with Uncle Bruno. How he used to play hide and seek with me, how he taught me how to play baseball, and how he used to sneak up gifts for me from my mom's eyes. Remembering all those sweet moments made my eyes wet with tears, and I could not stop them from flowing down. As I was lost in these memories while driving, I noticed a girl showing her thumb from a distance trying to hitchhike. I thought about what a girl was doing in such a remote, unsafe area, and at this time at night on top of that. So I decided to give her a ride and stop the car. She asked me where I was going and I told her that I was headed to Ohio. She did not disclose her destination. Instead, she said that it was right before Ohio and she would tell me where to drop her off, which I understood. Being a girl and hitchhiking on a stranger's car could get pretty dangerous. But I wasn't the kind of guy who would ever do anything to a girl. I asked her name, but she kept quiet. So I understood that she didn't want to talk and decided to quietly drive to our destination. You know, it's strange that if you're driving alone silently, you don't notice it, but if there's someone in your car while the ride and there is silence, you suddenly become pretty aware of it. I was driving at a safe speed when I noticed a gas station that was there, and she spoke only to ask me to make us stop because she needed to go to the bathroom. I stopped the car and parked it near the gas station. She got off and went to the bathroom. It had been over 15 minutes since she went to the bathroom, and I was waiting for her. Still, I had no choice. I continued waiting. Another 10 minutes passed and she still had not returned from the bathroom. I thought about leaving her for once, but then I looked around the area and it did not seem safe, even for a man, let alone a girl here. That was when she returned and apologized to me, saying that the bathroom door got stuck when she was trying to exit, and she struggled to open it since it was hard for her. I told her it was okay, and that if she needed help, she could have called for me, but again she kept quiet. So I started the car and drove towards the destination. It was a long drive till we reached Ohio, so I told her to take a shut-eye if she felt tired, but she did not, and continued to stay awake while the ride was going on. I understood she might be worried about me taking advantage of her, but I had no such intention, and being a stranger, there was no way I could have convinced her about that. As I was continuously driving for hours without taking a rest, I started to feel a bit tired and sleepy. And thank God, I'd already brought some energy drinks when I was leaving the town. So I took them out and started drinking them. The girl turned her head towards me and started staring. "Oh, this? It's an energy drink." I was feeling sleepy and so I took it out. "Do you want one? I have another one with me." I asked her and she shook her head no and turned her head to the road and continued looking out there for the rest of the ride. As we were about to get to the border of Ohio around 4 in the morning, she asked me to stop the car near a store and told me that I could go. I asked her if it was safe for her to stop here, and she told me that she lived nearby and someone was coming to pick her up soon. After wishing her goodbye, I drove to my place and reached there about half an hour or so. When Mom asked me if I packed the suit or not, I told her that I forgot, and in response, she said that she already knew and told me that she had asked someone to buy one for me already. I went to Uncle Bruno's room. Everything looked the same as I left. Every corner of the room, the house, everything was filled with memories of him. I asked Mom if Cousin Frank was coming, and she told me that he would reach by evening. Frank was Uncle Bruno's son, but he was very selfish and greedy. He was always only after Uncle Bruno's property, which Uncle Bruno denied ever giving him. But I guess he was still his son, and may have even loved his father. Same evening, instead of Frank, a call from the hospital came informing us that Frank was met by an accident and was admitted to the hospital, and that was on the outskirts of this town. I went there to check on his condition, and he was seriously injured, specifically his hands, which were broken in a manner as if someone intentionally did that to him. When he regained his consciousness, he started shouting that the girl with the lion tattoo did that to him. It was weird that the girl that I gave a ride to also had a pretty visible lion tattoo on her neck. He was admitted to the hospital for a few days. Mom told me to go back to work and that she would take care of everything. While I was going back, I did not see the girl even though I kept thinking about her. Only because I felt it to be a weird coincidence that my perverted cousin would mention a girl with a similar feature as her. One day during work, I heard two of my colleagues talk about a hitchhiker on the highway road where I met her. The description they said also matched the girl. According to them, the girl hitchhikes, and if the person giving her a ride tries to take advantage of her or anything, she punishes them in a way that they never forget.